Hi, my name's Thomas Mango, and my focus is on the Lake Rodman area and what its future would look like in a restored Ocklawaha River system. So, as a lot of you probably know, there's a lot of disagreement and discourse on whether restoration of the Ocklawaha is fair to a lot of the serious anglers, since Rodman would essentially disappear, and one of the best largemouth bass fishing areas in Florida would disappear along with it. So the main focus of my project is the crux of that issue. So a lot of you know that Lake Rodman area has been appreciated by anglers for many generations. And it's a really, really important location and prime place to catch trophy bass. And this is the issue is that Rodman will disappear. Its future in alignment with the restoration project and effort will, with this project, I'll still allow it to be enjoyed by professional and amateur fishers, but it will still be integrated within our greater goal of restoring the Ocklawaha. So basically, it will become a dedicated area where high quality competition level largemouth bass can be caught, and it will be managed in a specific way to encourage largemouth bass fishing and the continuation of that environment. And in order to accomplish that, this area will become a fish management area. So this is the future restored river system, or how it will approximately look, and Lake Rodman behind it superimposed. And the landscape is going to change dramatically if the river is restored. Obviously, all this water will become wetland or forest eventually. So this would be the restored Lake Rodman site based on a 500-acre model, although it could go to as large as 1,000 acres, depending on how much money the county is willing to spend, of course. It will have a new proposed entrance in the north at Deep Creek, and it will be connected to the new river system by a new river that will have to be managed and created. So like I said, it's going to be a fish management area, and the FWC has a lot of these around Florida. It's basically any water body that the county and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission will jointly manage. And it basically has a lot of rules and limits that allow it to be preserved. And we think that this is a great way to move forward. So the Lake Rodman Fish Management Area will be what its official name will be called. So it has a lot of caveats with being a fish management area. There's a lot of precedents too of human like intervened environments that have been turned into fish management areas. Rock is a good example, an old phosphate mine with a lot of repurposed lakes, and that fish management area has fees and quotas and harvest restrictions. Noonan's Lake has limited access. There's a lot of bank fishing in a popular area near Gainesville. And Stick Marsh, which used to be a farm and a wetland, converted into a fishery. It's now a really good place to catch largemouth bass in Florida, one of the best. And it has no harvest regulations on largemouth bass, which allow for the bass to grow a lot longer and get a lot bigger. So in essence, we want this area to be enact a lot like those areas and sort of become a part of a system. So our goals and objectives are going to be very simple in order to accomplish that. We want to basically promote the growth of trophy fish in the lake by imposing certain regulations. We want to support environmental conditions which create a really high quality fishing experience and encourage aquatic life and the environment around it. And we also want to provide other public bank fishing, access to the new restored river, and other recreational amenities. So this is pretty much what it's all about, the Florida largemouth bass. It's technically a different species than other largemouth bass. It's The Florida breed is grows faster, grows larger. It's very highly prized, and so people from all over the states and probably all over the world, I mean, come to Florida to catch this specific bass. It's pretty unique. So, in order to keep largemouth bass in Florida, largemouth bass healthy and in conditions, there's a lot of elements that this fish management area will require. I'm going to go through them briefly. So, these bass prefer warm waters and depths lower than 20 feet. Extreme water fluctuations create habitats that they enjoy a lot. So things like a drought, which is restored in the summer during the rainy season, or drawdowns, just like Rodman, um, really help them to feel less stressed out and feel safer. They have a preference for cover and structure. They really like trees or man-made structures or floating logs, then docks that cover the water's surface and make them feel safe. And structure, which is the condition and shape of the bed of the water they're in. They prefer it obviously to be less than 20 feet, but they like lots of submergent vegetation and rocks and plants so they can hide from predators, but also they can hide from their prey when they're hunting. The Florida largemouth bass, as I've said before, they grow faster and generally bigger than other bass. But it still takes roughly 10 years for them to reach trophy levels. So only a small number of bass even live past 5 years. So trying to keep their lifespan up is going to be one of our main objectives. And a lot of factors a lot of things are factored into that, like not enough food, environmental stress, and weather, which we'll get into. Availability of large prey like sunfish and tilapia and other bottom feeders are good because it helps them grow faster. And necessarily water bodies that are near human activities, runoff from farms and that kind of thing, provide more nutrients into the water, which, although has other environmental impacts, it does technically make them grow larger when there's more nutrients in the soil or in the water rather. They like it warm, and if it gets too cold, photosynthesis is reduced, and dissolved oxygen is reduced, and the bass will sort of enter a state of lowered metabolism, and that just means they're just not going to grow as big or as fast. And of course, there's other dangers for fish. Algal blooms, which create low dissolved oxygen, fish kills, chemical spills, other things like that, which obviously will be much more heavily watched and managed in a fish management area. So all of these aspects are taken care of by FWC's Fish Management Area General Regulations, and all of their management areas have these regulations in them, among others. These are just the general ones. I'm not going to read all of these, but a few of them are important to the Lake Rodman fish management area. We are proposing that there be a catch and release condition on all largemouth bass. The access to Lake Rodman will obviously be limited to the Deep Creek North entrance or via the connection of the restored Ocklawaha in the south. There will be there still need to be drawdowns to clear vegetation, just like Rodman has already, and this will provide rare opportunities for fishing. So fishing will be encouraged during those periods. And a boat speed restriction will allow for a safe and stress-free environment for the fish and other aquatic wildlife to grow better. So this is a rendering of what the restored Lake Rodman might look like, but it's based on a 500-acre condition. So you can see the river in the south. It's connected up to the bottom of the restored Lake Rodman and then flows back up to the 310 Bridge and Deep Creek. And this location and size and shape is based on the hydrology of the area mainly. We want areas that have a generally shallow depth near the shorelines to provide the cover and structure that bass like, and then also to provide easy access to the water and access for shore fishing and that kind of thing. Um, so this northern area is where we feel the best position for this lake will be. And obviously, access is a key issue. There's not as much access around the river as in other parts of the counties. The main point of access, as you can see here in the top left of this image, is Deep Creek, where the 310 highway passes over. If that area is further developed, there will be plenty of opportunities in that area, which we will get to right now. So if we zoom into Deep Creek, you can see it's kind of a project all in its own right. You can see the Sweetwater Creek and Deep Creek sort of combine here in that top left picture where that dead tree is. And then the 310 highway bridge passes over, which we know will be changed and remade, but the designs we don't exactly have yet. They're being made by someone else. And then in the south, you have Lake Rodman. So the Deep Creek site will be operating almost as a separate project in this condition. In option number one on the left, it's basically the restoration of Deep Creek and the addition of a Bartram recreation site. The second option, however, is the same, except it's the addition of the new restored Lake Rodman, which will sort of change the conditions. Option one, it restores the ecosystem and it will create a continuous paddling trail all the way down to the Ocklawaha. And it's better for the environment and it maximizes our restoration efforts. The second option, which is the restoration of the restored Lake Rodman, it's going to provide this 500 to 1,000 acre lake, and it will provide this bass fishing opportunity. But of course, it's going to be more costly, more expensive. It's going to require a lot of intervention. But it could, if created correctly, also provide the more connected wildlife corridors and reduction of invasive aquatic plants that option one also does. Both of them will most likely include heavy paddling interventions, which would be a part of the Putnam County Blueways system. Recreation, this is like a Bartram site, so we think that the Bartram Trail Society and the National Recreation Trail Society would be able to create signage and add it among their list of Bartram sites. And obviously, if the restored Lake Rodman fish management area is accepted and becomes a solid plan, then there will be a fish management area boating launch site, which will be incorporated into the Deep Creek site. So option one, mainly just paddling. You can see there's a camping area for the Bartram site. There could be some signage, maybe one or two paddling launches, which will allow people to paddle all the way from Sweetwater Creek or Deep Creek, all the way down into the new restored river system. It's fairly simple. This one will be a smaller intervention focused more on restoration. And then option two, where would be a heavier camping ground, maybe pavilions, bathrooms, a small parking lot. There would also be a paddle launch because right now there is a lack of one at the 310 bridge, and people do park there and pop their kayaks in and go up the river. So that is definitely a need currently. But then the option two also would include obviously a boat launch for people who want to go into the lake and do their bass fishing. So here's just another look at what the restored condition might look like. Obviously, a lot of things are subject to change, and it's a little bit vague, but this is basically what we're considering. Thanks very much for your